Hello and welcome to the West Yorkshire Football Show. It's the QPR 4, Leeds United 0 post-mortem match review with myself, Stephen Brown, and also Jason Booker. We're going to take a look at the game. Unfortunately, we've got to do these things. Try and unpick apart what was just an absolute horrendous night for Leeds United last night, the worst of the season at the most critical time. Jason, it's the next day. I'm kind of glad we weren't straight on last night because I think it would have been, I think they'd have closed the channel down, I think, because I think we were both, you and I were absolutely raging, as I think most Leeds United fans were on that. I mean, obviously we've been in a bit of a wobbly patch of form since the international break, but 4-0 against QPR, who've been fighting against relegation all season. We know they've got quality, chair, etc. We know that, but 4-0. I mean, it was 2-0 after 20 minutes or something. Jason, where do you start with this? I mean, what a disaster of a result that is.
Yeah, I mean, it's probably a good job that we didn't do last night because I think I'd have ended up keeping family up and I'd have probably been in doghouse, if I'm honest, because I was absolutely raging. I was just saying to you before coming on, like, I think when you create content, it's easy to then get called out for flip-flopping, and I've been quite positive all season. I've defended, whether it be Bamford, whether it be Farke, whether it be the team, the bottling tag and all the rest. I've defended against all of that. And I'm not saying that I'm going to go, completely 180 and go the other way on some of it. But last night for me was a completely systematic fall apart, a completely systematic failure from the selection to what happened of in-game management throughout the game, Farke's choices, the players themselves. Because for me, they're the most culpable. Because regardless of the system that we were set out to play, the first touches, the desire, the commitment, composure, reading the game, just everything was off. I text you. I know that you were a bit busy last night, so you couldn't come back to me straight away. But I text you after 50 seconds yesterday. I had a look back at it. Meslier on the edge of his own box. Ampadu, I think it was Ampadu Rodon, shepherded it back to him, and he spooned it out for a throw. And he could have just picked the ball up. And I said, "Oh, great start there from Meslier," and you could see it. I knew. I weren't even surprised when they scored yesterday. You could feel it, I thought, right from the way that we set about the game. I'm got to be careful not to just go all over the place today, but one thing that we need to kind of set the stall out with today's is that QPR didn't come and play a low block yesterday, so we don't hear no excuses in that it was this kind of system that we've struggled against all season. In this run of form that we've had most recently, I think you've been able to create narratives or caveats to all of the performances in that, Blackburn would probably deserve to win that game. Sunderland, we should have had 2 penalties. Watford were just after the international break. We had injuries, blah, 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 etc., etc., etc. I think all of them, you could say we were all right in. Last night was horrific. It was such a bad performance from everybody. The only player that came out of it with any sort of kind of, I don't know what the word is,
passable, barely
not
passable.
Praise. Yeah, not praise because nobody was good. Was Junior Firpo. He's the only player that I'd have given a 5 or above. Everybody else was horrendous. So yeah, that's where I would just probably start. Is that this wasn't a QPR shutout in that they low blocked us. They played us. They played football. They came out. They were there for the way that we would. If I could have wanted QPR to play in any sort of way, it would have been that. They had 38-year-old Steve Cook at centre back, and we never even challenged him once.
It's embarrassing.
It was a really, really embarrassing night, mate.
Yeah, I think you hit the nail on the head of systematic failure, and for me, there's nothing worse when you're watching that game, and you just knew watching it, like you say, after Mellier's panicking after 50 seconds, you just think, what are we in store for here? As well,
strap in for a long one as well, by the way, because I could go in and pick every single individual apart. I mean, you just mentioned Meslier there. My word, yesterday, distribution horrific. Coming in collected. I mean, I don't know if you've seen this, and this sounds like I'm going to defend the team a little bit, right? QPR's XG yesterday, do you know what it was?
No.
0.8. Now, don't get me wrong, they deserve to win the game regardless of what XG says. Our XG will
4 goals from 0.8.
4 goals from 0.8. You go back and watch them all, right? Apart from the first, which takes a little flick off road, and I still think Meslier should save it. All 4 goals he could have done better with. Yeah. All 4 goals we could have done better with. They were all defendable. I mean, 2 of them came from set pieces.
Just abysmal. Nice, thanks for your comment. As we had secured a playoff spot, Farke should have gone for a more proactive attacking team to get 3 points and put pressure on Ipswich. QPR were faster and hungrier and deserved their win. Mark, this back passing game, pointless, wasteful back passing. Anyone else see it?
You see, just on that, right? Because I think this is a really specific point, and I'm going to get in and pick Farke apart at some point in this stream. Yesterday, the reason that we've been so good defensively this year is not just because we've got good defenders. It's because we have so much control of the ball, right? We dominate possession. We dominate control of the games, right? Yesterday, we couldn't wait to give the ball back. It's like after the Middlesbrough second half, when it kind of worked, Daniel Farke's gone, we'll now play in a low block. We'll play as a defensive side and draw teams out and hit them on the counter. That's not the way that it's worked this season. We've controlled the possession. When the opponent has then been chasing the game, we've hit them on quick transitions. We're not a low block defensive team. So the passing that you mentioned, side to side, is half the reason why we've been so solid this year. Yesterday, we completely lost it because we had no hold-up man in Piro, who was... he might as well not played. Right?
How many times have we said that as well? How many times have we said this about Piro? And it's like, Farke, hello, is this message getting through?
But
is this getting through?
Brown, it's not just the favourites. You know, Archie Gray yesterday, completely anonymous. I'm sorry, he was awful yesterday. He had one good moment where he drove forward and we didn't make the most of it. That was it. He doesn't get on the ball like Kamara does. He doesn't control the tempo. He's a lot of the time found the wrong side of chasing back. That's just experience, you know. And don't get me started on Millie Gruev last night. I mean, again, might as well not have been there. I'd have hooked him after 20 minutes. Him and Piro would have done. I hate to go back to Bielsa, but if Bielsa have been the manager last night, he'd have made 2 subs after 25 minutes. 100% he would have done. But Farke doesn't have it in. He doesn't have it in him. He doesn't have it in him to do that, to be that brave. He didn't even have it in him at halftime to be that brave. And I mean, I could not believe the same team came out at halftime. Sorry, get some control, mate, because I'm.
No. I've
been waiting like
to get this off your chest. No. I can tell. Byron, Leeds humiliated by pathetic, uncoordinated performance. Few effective tackles. Meslier looked like elf on the shelf. Feeble midfield alongside blundering attempts from striking prima donnas. I mean, it just from back to front, awful. I mean, let's try and get some semblance of a structure. Let's just pick the players apart before we kind of really hone in on Farke. We've mentioned Meslier again. I mean, for me, he looked like last year's Meslier, where it was just no confidence, distribution terrible, like you mentioned, and conceding shots. Like, I mean, I think I saw something where he's like conceded the last 7 shots on target or something.
So in the last 2 games. In the last 2 games, he's conceded 7 goals from an XG of 1.6. And I know some people don't like XG, but it gives you a barometer of the chances that he's facing. I mean, if that XG was 5, you could say, fair enough, he's letting 2 more than the XG. But it's 1.6. I mean, that just tells you that he should be saving most of them. I mean, I've made this point before. In a day where we're having an off day, you should be able to look behind you at your... Premier League quality goalkeeper, which a lot of people will argue that he is. I don't think he is personally, but they will look at him and we should be able to look at him and think he's going to bail us out today, like Johansson has done for Rotherham week after week after week, like Johansson has for Leicester. Like that's what the keeper is there to do. He's not just there to make them casual ones. Otherwise, you might as well put any other player in there. You might as well put somebody that's better with the feet in there. Like it's just so frustrating, and he's not the reason that we lost yesterday because we were terrible all over the pitch. But if he makes 1 or 2 early saves and stops them 2, it gives us opportunity to build into the game. We're not even given chance. I mean, I know that the chair, Ilias Chair shot, Gruev should do better. Rodon should do better. I know it takes a little deflection, but it's only just outside of Mellier's kind of silhouette. It's not far from him. Like he should save that.
I know.
But he doesn't. And like, I'm not saying that he should save it every time, but he should save it 5 times out of 10. Meslier never saves them, ever. They go in every time. So, yeah.
And then crosses and things like that as well.
Yeah,
crosses are coming over and everything. Nige Farke said he didn't want to throw Joseph into a pressure situation, but he trusted an 18-year-old in midfield. He said Piro was a natural replacement for Bamford. Don't understand his decisions. No, it's baffling. I mean, let's get to the Piro. Let's go from bottom of the pitch straight up to the top. This Piro situation. Now, we had the press conference after the Middlesbrough game, and we heard about Bamford's potential injury. And I don't know about you, my heart sank.
Yeah, straight away, I knew what we're going to say, mate.
My fear was Piro's going to be dropped straight in there, for like, because for some reason, Farke just thinks this is going to click or work, or somehow this is, the quality is going to shine through or something, even though we've got masses of evidence to say that's not the case. And he picks Piro. So straight away, I was thinking, here we go. Can't lead the line, can't pressure the defence, doesn't make the defenders struggle, like you say. Cook at the back for them, 38, easy game.
Easy for them.
Easy. There was one bit where Peru had a decent shot on goal and showed a little bit of something there, but it's few and far.
About 6 minutes in, though, wasn't it?
It's anonymous. It's just not the right team set up for him. It doesn't work. And for me, I've been calling it for weeks that Joseph, if Bamford was out, Joseph should be in.
Yeah.
I just don't understand why everybody, the whole fan base, is watching, saying, why isn't Joseph getting a go? Everybody looks at Joseph, and we all know in our hearts of heart the guy is ready. But the one man who makes the decision doesn't think he's ready. And I know we can say about what he sees day in, day out, but I'm sorry, the results on the pitch now with Piro, I'm sorry, no. Joseph should have started last night. I'm not saying it's the cure-all and it's the miracle, but for me, it's have some guts to make some brave decisions. Mix it up a little bit. I mean, like Nige says there, you've got Archie Gray, who seems to have like an endless kind of trust, and he can be pretty anonymous himself. I know everyone was screaming about him to go into midfield, but like you said, there's not been much there.
With the exception of the Chelsea game, he's not played well in midfield. I'm not. He played well in the second half against Middlesbrough the other day. I will say that. But I mean, sorry, man. I'm jumping in a little bit. But yeah, I 100% agree with you. I've always defended Farke's standpoint on it because he's shown that he's been prepared to use the youth. Archie has been playing out of position all season. He's trusted him there over Conor Roberts, over Luke Ayling, So I've always kind of taken that of, well, he then sees that Mateo Joseph is just not good enough yet. He's just not the option, right? Which would make sense, fine. But the facts are is as you're saying, we're seeing these performances. Like, whether you're a casual football fan, love the tactics of the game or not, you can see clear, obvious, like, deficiencies in somebody's game, and it doesn't work. And what baffles me the most about Farke's decision with it, we were speaking about this before we went live, is that Daniel Farke sat us all down 4 or 5 months ago now and said, I know my strikers. Joel Piro is not a 9, he's a 10. Gio's going to play at 9. He then realised he was wrong because it went so badly over Christmas, and he brought Bamford in. Fine. It was big enough to kind of acknowledge that he'd made a mistake, and he brought Pat back in, and everything changed. We looked a different side, right? Now, Pat's out because he's injured, right? He's forced out of this particular game. And what does he do? He doesn't go back and revert back to what he said 4 or 5 months ago when he knew all about his strikers. No, he does the call that he said was wrong 4 or 5 months ago, and it looks even worse because Piro can't stretch defenders in behind. He's not physical, so he can't back into him. He's an out-and-out poacher finisher. He needs to play alongside another number 9 in a 2-striker formation. That's it. If you don't have that with Piro, he won't. We don't play to his strengths. I actually feel sorry for him, Browney, because
so do I.
It's not his fault. Yesterday he played. Oh God, I'm getting mad again. Yesterday he played 97 minutes of that game. He ended up playing in centre midfield. he can't even control the ball properly as a target man striker. So what hopes he got in centre midfield? It was just it's pure arrogance for me.
It's got to be.
Yeah, it's pure arrogance.
But this is the, there's been threads of this with Farke along about that. I know my striker, because he wanted to shut down that debate.
Yeah,
because we saw it at the start of the season. He was getting asked week in, week out because it didn't really work. It absolutely didn't really. It didn't work, and he acknowledged that really. And I think, like you say, he came to see sense with it because Bamford came back, but. I know I wanted to stick to the players, but it's really hard not to go off on other threads as you're going. But for me, he's just not proactive. Like Nige said earlier, 60th minute, we're waiting for subs. Every game, it's like, right, 60 minute, right, we're allowed to make a sub now. Mate, game's changed now. You can get subs on in the first half. Like you said about Bielsa when he whipped Calvin Phillips off 15 minutes.
He did it several times. I saw Bielsa do it several times, mate.
Got to be done. You've got to be proactive. We've seen it on another scale. Is Southgate with England is exactly the same. Never makes a sub, whatever the situation. You've got to be proactive. That is what the best managers do. And he's not brave in his team selections, and he's not brave in in-game decisions. And I think now
it changes before we did, Browney.
Yeah, but the thing is, this period where we were unbeaten at the start of this year, we had an immense amount of control in games. And let's be honest, a lot of teams came and did bugger all against us. They did not threaten us. Now we're coming to this end of the season. I think teams have just gone, you know what, we can get at these. We can get at this Leeds United team. QPR came out and absolutely bossed us last night. Like you said, that should have been the way that we should have been able to play through. I mean, there was one moment where Nonto's breaking with the ball or Somerville's breaking with the ball and hits it off the heel of Somerville and it was just an absolute disaster.
Some of that though then comes back into the players because they struggled with the pressure yesterday. They looked physically drained from minute one. I think we lacked leadership. I think we lacked some discipline out there on the pitch. When Pat's then out and, you're looking at others. And I mean, I can't believe I'm saying that. And I'm going to say it in front of everybody. I called it on social media. I'd have started Cooper yesterday. And some people will be like, you have got to be kidding me. Like after Watford and the rest of the season. But we were desperate yesterday for some leadership, somebody to grab hold of the game, calm people down. And again, I'm saying this in hindsight because, of course, going into the game, I'd have started the centre-back partnership that's given us what it's given us. Sure. But I'm not paid to make them decisions before the game. Daniel Farke is. And yesterday, we were so bereft of composure and experience on that pitch.
Yeah.
I mean, I think you're absolutely spot on when it comes to this situation with Piro. Start Nonto there. Right, he's played 9 for Italy.
Mix it up.
Start, if you don't trust Joseph, start Nonto there and play Jadon Anthony out wide.
Yeah.
Like I say, it's just pure arrogance. Pure arrogance is just so stubborn.
But this is, I mean, even, we'll probably expand it a little bit more, but even when Joffrey came on, for me, there were a bit of energy there. And I was like, thank God someone's actually buzzing about and doing something,
It would have been better starting over Piro.
It would have been better. It would have been. Honestly. Johnny, thanks for your comment, mate. Another Champo next year. We should have ignored profit and sustainability rules and bought a Pablo style number 10. Leicester are up. They can deal with the 4-point deduction next year. And he also adds, we have needed a number 10 for these types of games all season. Nige, be interested to see how the 49ers react to another championship season next year with their investment.
It'll be a busy summer. Nige, I can tell you that. It'll be a very busy summer.
Absolutely dreading it. John, it looked like Leeds thought they could stroll through this match. QPR had all the energy. In fact, you know what really annoyed me, Jason, is when we came out second half and we had that little bit of spell where we had more intensity in this play. And I wanted to throw some at the TV and say, you don't come out 2-0 down after half-time playing like that. You've got to be like that from minute one.
Yeah, you're right.
Minute one, you've got to come out and have that intensity. I mean, just, when you're playing it away at QPR, tight ground, close to the fans, that atmosphere, it's Friday night. You can't be lackadaisical. You can't be off the mat. You've got to be right at it. You've got to be right at it. Terrible.
Yeah.
Terrible.
I agree.
And we've just compounded it. Absolutely.
They look like they completely froze yesterday. That's the only way that I can kind of explain that start. And I don't know. I don't know. Like I say, I think it was systematic from the players, their mentality, their inexperience. Daniel Farke, I like I said, I think Daniel Farke was massively to blame yesterday. Yeah. I think people say, well, it's just one player, but for me, I saw it within minutes before the first goal. And we all knew what we were going to see because we've seen it already this season with Piro at the 9. The ball comes back at us so much quicker, constantly. I was in another chat with another group of mates, Leeds fans, who were watching the game and like, oh yeah, but Bamford wouldn't have made the difference. Well, what if he'd have won a free kick in the passage of play directly before Elise Shea getting the ball to then score the goal? That's moments. Like, that's how it works. What if he'd have ran it into the channel and won a throw-in? Like, it's so easy to just say, yeah, but he's a striker. He wouldn't have made a difference to the defending. No, it's bullshit. I'm sorry. You don't understand the game. If that's how you think it's played out, he makes that much of a difference. Sure, sometimes he misses chances, but the rest of it, it's so vital. I mean, yesterday we looked awful, and he was a massive part of what was missing. Wasn't the only part.
No, but this is why you bring Joseph in, to at least try and replicate it. I mean, I just don't understand what he's thinking when he watches how Piro plays and how important the way Bamford works in this system. I just don't see how you can fundamentally ignore that. And I'm thinking, what is going on here? It just doesn't make sense to me. Honestly, it really doesn't make sense to me. And I feel like now, because we've been told all season, I think Farke's not been shy of saying that, he's won it twice before. He's very calm. He's very relaxed. We'll see what we're like in game 45 and 46 and all that. Well, we've had game 45 and we lost 4-0 at QPR. So what's the plan now? Because we had a massive, massive opportunity, Jason. We won on Monday night. Fantastic. Like you said, defensive nightmare, but attacking. I thought hopefully there's some momentum. Hopefully that's got us back on track from the international break, because we had a huge opportunity. If we'd have gone 4 points ahead of Ipswich, I honestly think it would have been done. And instead, we've been smashed to pieces, and we've given Ipswich every bit of hope you could want. I mean, if you're an Ipswich fan watching that, there might be a couple of you in the chat. Let us know how you're feeling on the back of that as well. You must be absolutely buzzing. And I tell you what, the other teams that are going to be in the playoffs will be watching that last night. Yeah, the other teams in the players and going, we can totally have them. We can absolutely have them.
We have no physicality in the side. That's what it is. You get a set amongst us. We've seen it all season. You set amongst it, and we've got problems. Yeah. We've got real problems. I mean, as for Ipswich, I'm sure we'll come on to it in more detail, but we've completely taken off all the pressure. They can balls up tonight and still have another go at it on Tuesday, and then they've got Huddersfield at home on the last game of the season. It's basically playing a non-league side at this stage. So they've literally got it made, really.
That was tickled me. I enjoyed that.
Me a laugh, right? But it's true. It's true. Now, in my opinion, right now, the only saving grace that we have in terms of the potential for automatic is that Ipswich completely bottle it. They lose tonight, and then the pressure is back on again going into the season. They've got 2 tough away games. They've been in bad form as well. I was looking through top goal scorers earlier, and they don't have a lot of goals on the side. Connor Chaplin's their top scorer on 13. The next is Kiefer Moore, I think. So a Broadhead on 13 as well, and then Kiefer Moore on 6. They've not got bags and bags of goals, so who knows? They might stifle it. But I think that's our best chance of getting promoted, including the playoffs, is that Ipswich lose 3 in a row. I genuinely think, or they take 1 point from the next 3. Yeah. We'll get to that anyways. Just coming back to Farke and this season, right? Because I am going to caveat it a little bit. I have an hard time getting we're getting intensely frustrated and upset about what's happening right now, because it's the key time of the season, and we've had opportunities and blah blah blah. We're still sat on 90 points. We're 3 points short of Bielsa's title winning team. In any other season apart from one, when Sunderland finished on 90, in the last 25 years, I think it is, we'd have been promoted already as second place, right? So I do have a hard time being super upset, because the position that we find ourselves in would be more than enough so often. So what we're now seeing is us probably naturally finishing the total season's worth of results as a good season. If we were to have had this form somewhere else in the season and we were crescendoing towards 90 or 93 points if we beat Southampton, we'd all be buzzing. We would. But the problem has come is that when this moments come and pushes come to shove, the players and Farke have shown that they've just not quite got it, because so many of these games have been winnable. So much. And then the performance last night was the ultimate kind of kick in the bollocks. Sorry to swear. Yeah, that was the ultimate kind of feeling from last night, is that performance was so far off it. I could have accepted it in a certain way if we'd have gone and lost 1-0 to a low block. I could have done. Or, you know, a hard fought game that we just didn't come out of on top, or we ended up getting a point or whatever. We were comprehensively beaten by a team that came out to play against us yesterday.
Yeah. Well, the thing is with Farke as well, and this is exactly what we all believed was happening, was we were building up this crescendo. We were, this great momentum. We weren't conceding goals. We were winning practically every week. We were unbeaten for God knows how long. And it felt like, wow, we have timed this like unbelievably well. This is why we hired Daniel Farke, because this is what he does. And then, the wheels have come off. And I think the problem is, and I totally get where you're coming from objectively, this has been, a good season with the amount of games that we've won. How could we have not say it was a good season? My problem with it is I just don't think we're going to get as big an opportunity as what we have created for ourselves this year, particularly in this situation, because who knows what the team's going to look like. I mean, as you kind of mentioned then, God, it's going to be a busy summer if we stay down. And I just think it's such a crying shame to get to this stage, to get to a point last night where you could be 4 points clear and to throw it away because of, and I'm really surprised at Farke. I'm really, really surprised that this has happened, because I've talked a lot this season about Russell Martin and how he's kind of a bit of a, he's with his personality kind of a bit flip-floppy and emotional and all this kind of thing. But I think almost with Farke, it's too much the other way.
I know what you mean.
Too slack and let's just chill out. It'll all work out. No,
I've liked it to a point this season, and I've kind of supported it. But I hear what you're saying. I think there comes a time where you need a little bit of a G up. You need a little bit of rah-rah, like not too much Jesse Marsh, but you need a little bit. I agree with you completely. I disagree with Adam's point there from the Ipswich perspective. I truly believe that Ipswich's kind of next 3 games were in Leeds' hands. Regardless of what happened at Blackburn, beating Middlesbrough, if we'd have beaten QPR last night, you'd have been going into these 2 games knowing that not even one win would get you back in front of us. Yeah, so the situation being 4 points means that you need to go to 2 hard, tough away games, especially Hull tonight, and get at least a point and 4 points over the 2 games to keep it in your hands going into the last game. I truly believe that you would have probably struggled to get 2 points out of them 2 games. I really do. I don't see you going and winning that game if you've got that over your head, because the pressure switches completely. But Leeds took care of that for you, because now you go into these 2 games knowing that you can mess up tonight, so you guys can play a bit more freely, because then you've got another chance to put it right on Tuesday. And as long as you get within touching distance, even if you lose one and win one, right, it's still in your hands. You only have to then beat Huddersfield. If you take 4, I think if you take 4 points, it's done, right? Oh no, you would have to lose Huddersfield, and we would have to beat Southampton, right? Yeah. But whatever, like ultimately, you're putting it in your hands. You have so many opportunities to get it wrong and still get promoted, so you can play with some more freedom. I think Leeds have cooked it for you personally.
What I would say though is, as Adam says here about spreading the goals around. I mean, God, we don't do that. I mean, no goals from midfield. I mean, the set pieces. I mean, the corners. I mean, it's just Groundhog Day. You just watch it go into the first man every time. I mean, it's just pointless. You might as well play it short constantly and see if you can work a situation, or just give it to their goalkeeper and say, "Right, lads, have a
kicking out for a goal kick, mate. I said it last week.
I just, and Ipswich, they have mixed it around about there's a lot of different goals coming from a lot of different areas. There was something actually. I mean, I remember listening to a podcast at the start of the season. Not the top 20 podcast where it's all about the EFL really, and they were saying Leeds have gone for the steady choice with Farke, but he's not the most creative tactically. So McKenna, Enzo Maresca, you could, and Russell Martin are all potentially more innovative coaches in terms of what they do tactically, whereas Farke is a little bit more solid, safe, and kind of standard, basically. And I think I'm seeing that a little bit. I think I feel like there's not been enough risk, or there's not been enough, mixing it up, and I think we've said that a few times this season.
Yeah, I think there's a balance somewhere in it being reactionary to say that we would have preferred Maresca or mine, personally. And again,
I'm not saying that. No,
I know you're not saying that, but there will be fans.
Yeah.
There would be fans that would say that.
Yeah.
I still giving it all over. I'd still pick Farke out of them three. Kieran McKenna, I think, is a different kettle of fish, but we wouldn't have been able to go and get Kieran McKenna in the summer, I don't think. Maybe we would. I don't know. Maybe it'd have been seen as too much for risk, not being at championship level before. But yeah, I definitely can see that. I can definitely agree with that. I think a lot of the season we've controlled enough of the games to see us through, but we've not, bar the odd game here and there. Swansea away 4-0. Millwall away 3-0. We've not gone and really put teams to the sword that often. We win 1-0, 2-0, 2-1. We've had enough to control these games and get through. So I hear you. I definitely hear you. And I mean, I don't want to get too much into the calls for whether Farke's the right man for next season or not today, because regardless of what happens tonight, Tuesday, and Southampton, we're going to have the playoffs to contend with. So I think we need to just focus on that for now. I definitely think there's questions to be answered. Again, caveat, beginning of the season, in August, we could have easily taken another 6 points and already been done, right? So if we were set at the beginning of the season, I think we probably do take another 6 points, Browney, if I'm honest, and I think we're already promoted. So we're probably not having this conversation.
Yeah.
So you have to remember that, and we're still sat on 90 points. So I have a hard time being super, super critical. But this team now, especially since the turn of the year, is super strong. I would argue it's still one of the best. Well, it probably is the best in the league. Some would argue Leicester. I'd be fine with that. That's fine. But I'd say 11, the first 11 of both sides are very, very similar in terms of overall ability. I think they've probably got a better squad than us overall. They've got a bit more to turn to on the bench. So again, you have to measure Farke by that as well, and say that if he doesn't finish top two, given the position that we found ourselves in 6 weeks ago, he's failed. He's failed. Especially if he doesn't take us through the playoffs. He gets a get out of jail free card by taking us up through the playoffs. If he does, then great. But yeah, I see both sides of it, mate, if I'm honest.
Let's get to some of your comments. Jamie, thanks for your comment, mate. Farke just sat there and looked beat last night when the camera was on him. Yeah, totally. It didn't do him any favors.
After about 25 minutes, by the way, as well.
Yeah, exactly. Byron, Farke handled clubs operating turmoil, but fails not changing on-field tactics. If some aspirational, precious players leave, it wouldn't be too detrimental in a championship campaign. John here, agree about Bamford. Ipswich lost Hurst and immediately form drops. Then they got in more and things picked up again. Yeah, I mean, that is absolutely spot on.
Shock horror, right?
Yeah, exactly. A hold-up man is crucial, and defending starts from the front two, and we do not get that with Piro. We never have.
We don't get it with anyone else. I mean, Joseph, we've not seen enough, but Gio doesn't do it either. Like, let's take us mind back to when Gio was at the 9 and Piro was at the 10. That wasn't great either. Yeah, as much as Farke wanted to pretend like it was them two losses over Christmas that forced his hand to put Pat in.
Definitely. Yeah, absolutely.
It didn't work with Gio either. And Gio can't finish his dinner. So, he's not good in front of goal. So
no. John here, Ipswich do have bags of goals. We don't have one big goal scorer, but we have 22 goal scorers this season. All the teams score bar the keeper. One thing that really I struggled with last night was Somerville, Rutter and Nonto. I thought they were absolutely awful. I mean, Nonto couldn't control the football last night. His decision, I mean, I don't know what happened to Nonto last night, because Rutter and Somerville, they've kind of been in and out a little bit. I know Somerville obviously did well against Middlesbrough, but his general play, I don't think, has been quite to his absolute best. Rutter, again, up and down. But Nonto has been the man who's been on form, but he was so upon. The three of them were, I mean, oh my goodness me, what is going on? I mean, what the thing about Farke, again, we rely so much on these guys creating those moments, and they didn't create anything. They didn't have the intensity. They didn't have the fight. They didn't have the fight.
No, I agree.
It wasn't their type of game. And again, they were just left on for a long period of time. I know he hooked Rutter and Somerville, but
this is what I say about the balance between who you blame. Because I think systematically there was loads of problems, team selection, tactics, all the rest of it. But yesterday, individually, they were off it as well. Like, really off it, miles off it. So is that lack of desire? I doubt it at this stage of the season. Is it fitness? Maybe a little bit. But I think it's more just the mentality, the being able to deal with the circumstances and the pressure. And like I said, I've defended this team, not saying that they're not bottlers and not, they've been different. They've shown character. They've had moments this season where they've been questioned and they've come back, or they've won a game that they really needed to Leicester, Millwall. There's other examples of it. But last night they hid. They were maybe even trying too hard. Sometimes you that can be the case. The Nonto Somerville situation were a perfect example of that, where they're getting in the way of each other and running into each other. It's like, come on, boys, keep it together. But again, and people scoff at him. But if Bamford had been there yesterday, he'd have just been an experienced head that wouldn't have. He's been in this situation before. He'd have just been able to say, boys, chill. You get over there. A bit of direction, a bit of dictatorship. And I'm not going to be all old guard. Somebody mentioned it wouldn't be a bad thing if they all went. Be careful what you wish for, right? Because I love this squad, and Gail's right. This young team have done as proud they have, but it needs a mixture. I saw somebody speaking about it yesterday about the characters that were in amongst the promotion winning squad. Alioski, Berardi, some of these players that weren't world beaters in terms of technical ability. I would say that this team absolutely pisses all over that team in terms of technical ability, but they had characters in and amongst the talent. Not to mention the technical ability of Hernandez, but his leadership. Matthias Klick, he was a good player, but it was more about what he brought to the character. Stuart Dallas being out there on the pitch, Cooper, Ayling, the team was full of them, Browney, wasn't it? And it's about more than just the technical ability that goes out there and bends the ball in the top corner or whatever. There's so much more to it, and we missed loads of that yesterday.
Yeah, absolutely. And this is, Michael's picked up on a point here. I saw Somerville and Nonto having a go at Piro, and Piro having a go back at them. And there's been a couple of things where that, I know a couple of suggestions that, it's not quite clicking between them. And you wonder what players think, don't you? You wonder what those three guys thought with Piro ahead of them last night, and if they feel it themselves that this is just not going to click. I wonder if that comes into it at all.
It definitely will.
Nice. Somerville, Nonto, Rutter and Piro aren't championship battlers. They like to have fun and play 1-2s. They need grizzled fighters behind them. We don't have them. No,
I think that's a great point. Yesterday, the physical profiles of some of them QPR players in behind an Ilya Share, who's not going to come back and defend for you, but they have Sam Field behind him, and he has James Dunn behind him, and who else played in midfield alongside Field? I forget his name now. But, I don't want Steve Cook in my back line, but Steve Cook, they are them kind of players. Lyndon Dykes up front, putting himself about and in for the battle, man. And, don't get me wrong, I don't want to, again, just call out all of our players for being soft. That's not what I'm saying. But there's a lot of technical ability in that team and not a lot of physical presence. Ampadu aside, that team yesterday, really, really weak, really. You're looking at maybe Byram.
Yeah.
And Gio can put his body about in an attacking sense, but he's not in the area of the pitch where you need that kind of steely determination. Joe Rodon and Ampadu will put the bodies on the line as a centre-back pairing, but they're not that kind. I don't know.
No, I know what you mean. I love the EFL. I'm looking forward to next season here. This is what I keep telling myself. Ups and downs would be nice to have a few more ups. Byram last night. We haven't mentioned Byram much, and God, he had a shocker for me. He stinkered Byron. That bit where he put in that really late tackle, I would have subbed him then and there because I thought it was such a stupid, moronic tackle to make. Honestly, I was infuriated when I saw that.
You knew at that point of the game. I think that was before the goal.
Yeah,
you could tell that we were miles off it. Absolute spot on, mate. I mean, just for what it's worth, I honestly would have. Again, saying it in hindsight is easy as a fan, but Daniel Farke's paid to make these decisions, right? Archie Gray should have started at right back yesterday. It'd have been more mobile to deal with the problems that we were getting from that side, and you'd have known that scouting QPR beforehand. I would have started Cooper or Cresswell in the back line, and I'd have started Ampadu in the midfield to give us more of a presence in there. And I'd have started Kamara in the midfield as well over Byron and great right back. And I would have started Joseph up front. I mean, there's so many then. So many options. And like I say, if you'd started Nonto up front, I can understand that and play Jadon Anthony. You know.
Yeah. Where's Kamara? Where's Glenn Kamara? Why
he came on in about the 92nd minute yesterday.
Why is he suddenly kind of forgotten about? Because I'll be honest, I thought the criticism of Kamara a few weeks ago was way, way, way over the top. And I thought we were at our best when it was him and Gruev in centre mid. So now he's like the forgotten man. I mean, I don't know if it's fitness or what, but I mean, it like you said earlier, it was crying out for a Kamara last night. I mean, there was one bit where he actually came on and immediately he created like space. You know how he uses his body, and he created a space for him and was able to pull away. And I was like, we've been missing that all night.
The game was desperate for control. It was desperate for control. And the reason that we've been so good this season, especially defensively this year, 2024, is that we've had so much control of the ball. The percentages of possession have been so much in our favour that teams have not had opportunities against us. Kamara puts that all together in that midfield. Gray doesn't do that. He looks to go forward all the time. So I know fans can get frustrated with sometimes going side to side, and I get it. But that's how this system works. It dictates play. And yesterday we didn't dictate nothing. Archie was awful in the midfield yesterday. I got to tell you, like, if that had been Adam Forshaw, you'd have been absolutely crucifying him online. So yeah, 100% agree. And I just want to pick out Adam's point there about spot on about characters which don't have best individual players, but strong mentally that helps teammates out. Sam Morsey, as an example, for me, and I'm sorry, Adam, is crap. He's a terrible, terrible footballer. But what he brings to the team, a bit like sometimes what Pat brings to the team, is that level of experience. He's always in the right place. He's mopping stuff up. And Gruev's done that for us quite well this season as well. So I'm not just calling people out unnecessarily, but my point is sometimes it's not all about the technical ability. You know, Sam Morsey is a fantastic captain. He dictates everything, and he doesn't get overawed by the situation. You know, Ilya Gruev yesterday, he got overawed by the situation. As simple as that.
Bizarre one. That I wasn't expecting that from Gruev.
No, I didn't.
It feels a little bit like that's come out of nowhere. So real bizarre drop off from him. Adam, you need Batty back, or indeed I wish. Stephen Kinnear said at the start of the season, Farke has 2 years to get his promotion. And, you know, when you look at it long term, you go, yeah, you know, I think he absolutely would get, even if we don't go up, he would get a second year for me, because I don't know how you could, you know, I don't know how you could not give him a second year, but I would caveat it with, it's got to be a bloody good start to that next season, because you know, we've got to be in a stronger position from the off than we were this season. Obviously, there was mitigating factors this season.
The thing is, though, Brandon, there's going to be mitigating circumstances next season, because we're still going to have to deal with these loans. We're going to have to deal with Somerville, Rutter, Nonto maybe all going, you know, Cooper leaving, Dallas
£7 to pay in transfer fees as well, haven't we? And
there's going to be a little bit to deal with, so like it won't be as bad as I think this summer just gone, and I still think we'll be strong. And absolutely, he gets a second year. You know, if we miss out in the playoffs, he does, because we're still on 90 points after a championship season. Like, that is not sackable offence, unless we got absolutely tonked over 2 legs and it would clear the wheels have completely come off. But no, we still go into next season with Farke, and we hopefully continue what's been mostly an impressive recruitment strategy from the club, and we bring in players that suit this system. I'm just, this is so foresight, and it makes no difference now. But the Piro signing just irritates me more and more and more as we go along, because it was like we missed out on Cameron Archer. That was the number 1 target. let's go make a statement signing, but regardless whether he fits the system. I just don't get that one, given how important it was, because I like Pat, but we should have a better number 9 at the club. Pat should be second choice, not first choice. You know, as much as I defend him and I think he's the best that we've got, he shouldn't be the best that we've got. So it does irritate me. But anyway, that's
no, exactly. I think what I'm worried about now going into the playoffs is how negative the feeling is now and how off form we are. Where are the players' heads at? Where's Farke's heads at? He's not experienced in the playoffs. He's never dealt with the playoffs. I just feel looking at this now, it's going to be a hell of a job to pick this team up now going forward. I mean, even if we get a sniff next week against Southampton, let's say Ipswich lose and draw a game, we're still in the driving seat at that point. But I just feel that this is damaging in a lot of ways because those players have taken absolute beating last night, and I worry about where our headspace is at. And what annoys me more, and I think what makes it extra gutting, is that we clawed it back against Ipswich and Leicester, this big gap, and we've let Leicester off the hook. They were celebrating promotion last night, and they did bottle it. They bottled a 17-point gap, but they've managed to find something somewhere. Their keeper's made the saves, ours hasn't. Something, little bits, these little percentages or whatever have gone in their favour and they've managed to get up, but we've let them off the hook. I mean, God, that we had it there in front of us. We came back, didn't we, from the bank holiday or the international break. They said, we'll win these 2 games, we'll win the league, probably.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. 100%.
We've 100%. It. There's just no other way of talking. We have fluffed it.
I bet some Leeds fans are feeling a bit silly about wishing a Leicester win against Southampton now. Because that's exactly what I was saying, because they'd have only been a point ahead of us with one less game than Ipswich. We wanted to keep both them as close as possible. But you're absolutely right. I mean, the 2 home games will be the ones that we look back on. I will say that. And Sunderland, I think, the penalties that we should have had and the way that they set about the game was unfortunate. I think Blackburn, I think 9 times out of 10 we win that game with the way that we played, even though we weren't great, we were good enough to win the game. But they're the two, because if you've won them 2, you don't go to a QPR and lose 4-0. You don't. You might still lose a game, but you don't lose in that way. I mean, I wrote down in one of my notes there's a way to lose a game, and obviously last night was completely not it. So you're spot on, mate, and there will be loads of look backs. I mean, I just indulge me just a second. I took a screenshot. I'm sorry Evie mentioned this. I know it's been in our chat before. She got kind of called out about mentioning this earlier on in the season, and she said that it isn't the games against the top teams that will cost us promotion. It's the games against the when we drop points against the ones at the bottom, right? Yeah. And let me just find this. Just give me 1 second. My phone's just having a moment. Took a screenshot yesterday. Where is it? Our performances and our results, more importantly, against the teams at the bottom of the division is unreal, right? So we've dropped points this season. So this is 17th down to 24th. We've dropped points against QPR, Stoke. We've lost to both of them away. Blackburn, we've again only 3 points. Plymouth are the only team that we've not dropped points against. They're in 20th. Sheffield Wednesday, we drew at home. Birmingham, we lost away. Huddersfield, we drew away. Rotherham, we drew away. We've dropped points against all of them teams, Brownie. And I mean, that was in the state unbelievable when you think about it. I mean, again, you're easily looking at promotion there by just turning 2 or 3 of them.
What's that then? I mean, that's obviously our ability is far more, far higher than these other teams. So what the hell is going on? Why have we? Is it sloppiness, not taking it seriously enough? Is it a tactic thing? I mean, it's.
I personally think, and this is a little bit, it might sound a little bit nonsensical, but the Championship's a bit of a funny division, and there's a lot to be said to have grungy Championship players that have a little bit of know-how. And I know that the ability of this team is fantastic. It is. It's probably us and Leicester the best Championship teams technically you'll ever see. Yeah. But they've just not got enough know-how at times. I look at that midfield that Middlesbrough had the other day, Lewis O'Brien and Johnny Howson, players like that. I'm not saying I want loads of them, but a few of them, you know, would have been. I think that have just got us enough points for us to not be having this conversation tonight. Anyway.
Yeah, I mean, Johnny drops a great point in here. This is because we did not have the Pablo-style playmaker to break down the low block, which I mean,
I called it in the summer that.
Yeah,
I said it in the summer, and I kind of came round to what Rutter brought to the team. I have flip-flopped on this a little bit as well, because I remember us talking about it in January, and we were like, what position do we need the most? And I were like, probably desperately a left back, because we weren't seeing the week in, week out of Firpo, and we desperately need a 10. And by the end of January, you'd kind of be like, well, actually, we're doing all right without this 10. Rutter will be absolutely fine. We desperately need a right back now all of a sudden, because Jade Spence had gone back.
Yeah.
So it changed. But yeah, that comment is absolutely spot on. Absolutely spot on. We have been desperate for an out-and-out 10, because Rutter's not an out-and-out 10.
No, indeed. Let's have a look at some things just to depress us a little bit further. From LUFC data, Leeds suffered their heaviest ever defeat versus QPR, heaviest defeat under Farke. Lost 6 out of our last 7 at Loftus Road, and have lost 4 consecutive matches at Loftus Road for the first time. An embarrassing, shambolic performance.
It is a horrible place for us to go.
It is, isn't it? Yeah, it just doesn't.
We've always gone terribly there.
Yeah, it just doesn't work for us. We've got to do it, but let's have a look at the league table then. Leicester are promoted there. They're back in the big time. Their money worries can just kind of disappear. They might get a few points docked, but so what? I mean, you know, they'll probably recoup it. But yeah, they've thought stuff it. They're paying Harry Winks 80, 90 grand a week or whatever it is, but they've done it. They're back up. Unfortunately for Leeds, patchy form there. You can see it, 1 winning 5, stuck on 90 points. Still got a point over Ipswich. Ipswich do have 2 very tough games, Hull and Coventry away, but the pressure has turned now. I mean, they can have 1 free hit in essence, really, at one of these teams and can think, right, let's just play our best stuff and see what happens. And yeah, do you think it's going to go into that last weekend then, or are you pretty sure now it's Ipswich will take advantage?
I think it could. I'm a bit indecisive with it. I were gearing up for us winning last night and looking forward to watching the game and supporting Hull along tonight, but kind of feel very differently about it. I actually think there's a fair chance that they lose tonight, but I do think they'll beat Coventry now. I think Coventry, given what they've had happen in the Cup, they play tonight, play Tuesday, play Saturday as well. Coventry, and you know they've not been in great form. If you actually have a look at Coventry's most recent form since beating us, actually they've been in pretty poor form. So I don't hold out too much hope that they win that game. But it is, I think it's Coventry's last home game of the season, so maybe they do. But I don't, mate. I don't, if I'm honest. If they lose tonight, it definitely goes to the last game regardless. I said a few weeks ago, kind of tongue-in-cheek, that Huddersfield will end up getting us promoted. So maybe Huddersfield beat Ipswich on the last game. They go down. Well, I said Huddersfield will beat Ipswich. Huddersfield will go down anyway. It won't make a difference to them because of other results, and Leeds will get promoted because of it. And I was kind of tongue-in-cheek, but it could actually feasibly happen. Yeah, you know, Ipswich need, if we win, Ipswich need 4 points out of 9. Now, given their most recent form, that's a little bit of a stretch, actually. Is that right? I'm thinking that's right.
Yeah.
No, they need 5. They need 5 out of 9 because of goal difference, right? Which took a bit of a hit last night, actually. I wasn't happy about that at all. It's 7. It's still 7. So
another little thing, just
as long as we win the game, they shouldn't be able to turn over 7 if goal difference ended up then being a factor. Anyway, by the by, as long as we don't get tonked by Southampton, I guess.
God. Yeah. Jamie here. Hang on, let me pull up the comment. It's just jumped. How are you guys feeling you'll do against Southampton? They're in a bad way too. I don't know. I mean, it's God. Who knows? Who knows? I'm sure they'll be wanting to set a good precedent going into the playoffs. So
I had a debate with somebody on the good old social media the other day about the Southampton game, and they were trying to tell me that if Leeds was still playing for promotion, Southampton wouldn't play a strong team. They'll rest players. That's absolute BS. Yeah. They will start their strongest team in that game. There's a gap before the playoffs anyway. and they need to carry some form into it. So there'd be nothing better for them than to go to Ellen Road, who they could potentially then play in the final and beating them. So there is absolutely no chance. Russell Martin can't stand Daniel Farke either. So I have no doubt that we'll see the very, very best Southampton on that day. So don't think we're going to get a free pass, because we absolutely won't.
No, absolutely not. Stephen, Farke stopped us scoring further goals against Huddersfield and told Rutter to stop embarrassing his opponents. This is a cautious manager. Got to admit, I wasn't a big fan of him when he had a go about Rutter's celebrations. This is a long time ago, and it might be a bit petty, but I'm like, nah, don't be saying all that. Don't kill it. But anyways, that's just
I know what you mean.
Just a personal thing of mine. Yeah, and as we mentioned about the goal difference, Leeds goal difference taking a hit. Yeah, Leeds still plus 39 and Ipswich plus 32. So like you say, still 7 goals above them, but 2 games to go. 2 games to go for Ipswich.
Is it feasible that they turn that around and goal difference be an issue? I mean, if they were to get only a point, they wouldn't be able to close enough for the goal difference unless we absolutely got tonked against Southampton. It won't be a problem.
That's right.
If we beat Southampton, let's say it's just 1-0, that'd then go to 8. They would have to then feasibly win their game by the 7 should still be enough. Yeah, the 7 should still be. If it then comes down to that being a factor.
What do you think of this? If we've missed the automatic promotion, we should rest players against Southampton. Where do you stand on that, Jess?
We haven't got the squad to rest that many.
Yeah,
I think you'd probably see Cooper come in for the last game. I think you'd probably see a bit of a rotation, maybe Gallart come in and Anthony come in, something like that. If automatic's completely off the pitch, out the pitch,
will come in and score a hat trick probably or something,
maybe, and then get dropped for semi-final for Piro probably. Yeah. I mean, Stephen, it's not a dead rubber. It's just not. Again, that's just dealing with it on a 1-by-1 basis. The best way to get back in form is by winning football games. And, Southampton have been in pretty poor form, really, overall. They've lost to Cardiff, then got smashed by Leicester. Their next opportunity, they play today again, don't they? But they're going to want to continue form into that, especially playing a team that they could then play in the final. It's funny because this happened when we got to the Championship playoff final way back in 2005. We played Preston on the last game of the season, and we played them the week after in the semis. I think we drew at Deepdale. Right. I think we drew. But yeah, no, I don't agree with that at all, because from a mentality point of view, it's not a dead rubber. It's just not a dead rubber.
No, absolutely not. Michael, what you're saying here, Ipswich beat Sheffield Wednesday 6-0 just before the international break, coming up against Huddersfield, who might already be relegated. They could have a goal fest. Lovely.
But if they win that game, just because I'm kind of surmising that they're going to have taken some points from these two. If they win that game, it's unlikely that goal difference will then be an issue anyway, because we would have had to beat Southampton in the same game and we wouldn't be reducing goals. So I just can't see it. I can't see it being a problem for us, given that we're still 7 ahead. I don't think. I could be totally wrong.
This is another thing as well. It will be the last time we see Crewe at Ellen Road if we're not promoted in the playoffs. I mean, the worry is, the fear has been, hasn't it, Jason, that if we don't bounce straight back to the Premier League, we're going to be in a bit of a situation. I think, the accounts dropping the other month, and we're seeing we've got a huge outlay in fees to pay. We've got unwanted players that will be coming back to the club who we've got to try and then get off the books again. We could be losing our best players at the moment. Crewe, I don't think the player of the year for the Championship, who's age 22, is going to be staying another year in that league. I think we can absolutely rinse a fee for him.
Yeah,
would be my thing. I think we get I want a record-breaking Championship fee for him.
It'll be 40 million, I would imagine.
Absolutely.
Around that.
But, Rutter, Nonto, these guys, those creative guys, even others, I mean, Archie Gray. If we get a big money in from a Premier League team, we're not going to be in a position to turn that down and turn our nose.
Joe Rodon probably goes back as well.
Joe Rodon goes back. If I were a Premier League team, I'd be looking at Ampadu as well.
Oh, 100%. I think he stays, but
I think he probably does. But if a 25 million bid from a Bournemouth or something comes in, who knows? I mean, it's going to be hellish again, isn't it? Really? So it's. how do you feel about playoffs? Are you defeatist already, or has it soured it for you last night? Because I know before you were more optimistic than probably most. You were thinking, well, look, this is a different team. This isn't Leeds United 2005. This isn't, how we were in League One when we went to those playoff finals. This is a different team with an unbelievable record this season. But God, doesn't it just feel like it's not going to happen in the playoffs already?
Everything I've seen from this team has shown character. They've shown attitude, to be able to pull that gap back, to be able to win important games, before this recent run. So I've always had kind of an attitude that I don't fear the playoffs in the way that some of the Leeds fans do, because I just think what happened 6 years ago under Bielsa, or 5 years ago, whatever it is now, doesn't have any factor on now, other than in the fans' head. It has no factor on these players whatsoever.
Yeah,
I felt like that up until last night. And last night's performance and what I saw happen to the players has made me feel a little bit differently about it. I just worry that when push comes to shove, they won't have the mentality and the experience, because I think for young players, they've never dealt with this before. They've got nothing to kind of look back on when 40,000 people at Ellen Road and all the people watching at home are kind of counting on them boys to pull that out of the bag. They don't have that experience to look back on, and you will see the odd player rise, cream rises to the top and all that, and it might be Somerville on the day, but there's so many of them needing to do that together. And it's tough. I mean, I like I say, I'm not going to call it a bottle if we don't win in the playoffs. I don't think that's fair to these lads who have achieved 90-point season this season. I just don't think they've got it experience-wise. I would fancy West Brom. I'd fancy West Brom. Yeah. Carlos Corberan's been there before. He's super experienced in it. He's got some good players in that team. He's got experience. Again, you talk about championship battle players like Alex Mowat, who we know well. Not the most technically gifted player, but he knows what it's about, Kyle Bartley, players that we're familiar with, even like
as well, who's very wily and
Jed Wallace, these players, they know how to get results. So
it's going to be very icky, isn't it, to be in the playoffs again? It's just going to be.
I think we'll lose to Norwich. That's how I feel right now. I think we'll lose to Norwich in the semis. Probably go down there and lose 2-0 at Carrow Road, make a bit of a fist of it at Ellen Road, and go out. That's just how I feel right now. But
I get it.
Take it at the time.
Gail, I still think and hope we can go up when we have 90+ points. Plus, this young team and Farke deserve a lot of praise. George, Browney, do you think Ipswich will do it now? I think most likely. There's a little voice in my head though that's saying, "Look, 2 tough away games. Who knows? Maybe they'll." I mean, I could see them drawing and losing, and that would still put us in the driving seat. But then you've got the huge problem of Southampton as the last game of the season. They're just playing Huddersfield. So, it's going to be difficult.
The only thing that I can say with that is if we can be lucky enough to be in a position where going into the last game of the season, it's in our hands, I think everything that's kind of gone before just gets almost eradicated, because that one-off scenario changes so much. I remember the League One season when we got promoted. We got battered against Swindon. I don't know if you remember it. We lost 3-0 against Swindon. Bloody Billy Painter scored twice. Yeah. I'll never forget. We got battered, and we were like, oh my God, we're going to throw it away. And then I think we went and drew against Charlton when we had the opportunity to go up. And then we brought it back to Ellen Road and the Bristol Rovers, and we all know what happened there. We weren't in great form that season. I know the levels are different, but the perspective is exactly the same, really, in that there'll be a runaway leader who's already done, and then it'll be us fighting for second with someone else. So if we can get to that last game of the season and it be in our hands, I believe we can win that game. But I just see that Ipswich will get enough to be in the driving seat in that last game, so I don't think it'll matter anyway. I do think it'll go to the last game regardless.
Yeah.
But
no, indeed. Darren, sadly, I see us struggling to even get past the semis of the playoff. There is already a template to stop us, and Farke doesn't change anything. Well, this is the other thing. I mean, tactically, if it's the playoffs, does Farke have to gamble a bit more with changing things up here, Jason? I mean, I don't see how you can just. I mean, if Bamford, who knows if he would be fit, or that kind of thing. But has he just got to be a bit braver here? And if it is the playoffs, he's got to be willing to mix it up a bit more and take a chance a bit more. I mean, but the thing is, I think if we got walloped in the playoffs, then I think there'd be. Can you imagine the noise against him then if we got walloped?
I do think we need to just remember, I mean, West Brom aside, and I think in both West Brom games, if you remember back, we didn't play particularly badly in either of them. The first game, the draw, we should have won that game. They had it was a blatant handball, if I remember rightly. And then I think it weren't a great game in the second game at their place. They won 1-0. But it weren't much in it. But that side, we've looked all right against the other team. I mean, Southampton away again. I mean, I'm making loads of caveats now, but I think that were a one-off day at the time. Southampton away, we'd lost Rodon, Cooper had started, and all the rest of it. But we've beaten Norwich twice. We've beaten Ipswich twice. We've beaten Leicester twice. The teams that are up there, we're actually pretty good against. So would we want to throw it all away and start again? My kind of problem really is that Daniel Farke appears to be becoming more and more negative. He's changing his tactics to be more and more kind of passive, and that worries me a little bit. But I don't know, mate. I've just got no confidence right now.
The fortunes of brave. Remember that a little bit, I think. Byron, imagine if Ipswich lose all their 3 remaining matches and then Huddersfield Steve makes his appearance with you. We can dream. Byron, that would be exceptional, mate. If that happened there,
hey, I'm happy for us to stay up if we go up at the same time. I got no bloody feeling towards them, if I'm honest. As much as we get stick from them, I don't agree with George's take there on Leif Davis. By the way, we just need to remember back to the fact that he went to League One from a Premier League team. He didn't go from a Championship team to a Championship team. As hindsight is a wonderful thing, isn't it? He said 2 years later that we should have sold him, but anyway, sorry, what were you going to say?
No, I'm just saying, how are you feeling about watching the rest of the day's footy? Then it's kind of it really sours it, doesn't it? Like last night's result, you just think if we'd have won, I mean, you'd have been buzzing today, wouldn't you? If we'd have won that last night, you'd have been absolutely loving it going into today.
Well, it kind of felt like an enjoy, something to enjoy today. Whereas now it feels like a chore. I truly believe that we'd win last night and we'd go into tonight thinking, right, okay, a loss and a draw and we're promoted. Like we could have been confirmed before Southampton with a win last night. That's how important it was. 2 losses for Ipswich were guaranteed, a point, and we're done really because of goal difference. And worst case scenario, Ipswich win both, and we're going to that last game still with the chance. So it's just all changed on last night, and I'm not particularly interested. I'm going to watch Huddersfield because none of the other games at 3:00 matter really to us. So, and then I will put the Ipswich Hull game on. I won't. I've been saying since the game, I'm not watching it. Throwing my toes out of prom, but I probably will.
Yeah, do you know? I mean, if it's an early goal for Ipswich, it's just forget it. Then, isn't it? It's pretty much done at that point.
I think they'll fly out of the traps, mate. I do. I think they'll fly out of the traps. They could score early.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. I'll be amazed if they don't.
Hull have got a lot to play for as well, though. Hull beating Coventry last week. They still give it. Norwich and West Brom are not in great form right now, so they do have a chance. Hull, so and they're a good side. They've got some good players in there. It'll be a good game if nothing else. I'm fully resigned for the playoffs. I'm fully resigned for the playoffs. Yeah. So if it is, I think his best opportunity of getting promoted is that Ipswich lose all 3. It's highly unlikely given the fact that they've lost 6 all season. So I don't know. I don't know, mate. I'm just dejected. Which is very uncommon for me. Like usually I try and find the positives in the situation, but the performance combined with the result last night has really hit me in the body. You know what I mean? So
no, I agree. I think it's a real tough one to take. Is that I think especially after on the back of the Middlesbrough result and parts of the performance that I thought we were back on track. So to get dumped 4-0 last night is it's very harsh, and unfortunately these things happen in football. There has to be a winner and a loser, and it were our turn last night. But it's not over. It's not, promotion is not over. I think the automatic places is over, but promotion maybe not. But I don't even know if I'm mentally ready for the playoffs, mate. I don't know if I'm mentally ready for that. I tell you,
we're gonna have playoff streams, Brownie. Playoff reviews. Oh God.
I mean, it's just horrendous, isn't it? I mean, it's not too late to shut this whole thing down, if we can't face it. But oh my goodness me, yeah, strap ourselves into that. Any final thoughts then, Jason, before we wrap up, mate?
Yeah, usually after a defeat, I'm encouraging people to be quite positive, but I'm struggling myself a little bit with this one. I mean, we just hope that Ipswich drop as many points as possible. But I do. Based on the back of last night, all the Ipswich players will have, seen it, geared themselves up. They'll be ready to go tonight after a long gap. They may well win tonight, and it could be completely over by Tuesday. And then, who knows what can happen in 3 games in the playoff? Hopefully, it's 3 games. That's the best I can give you from a positive point of view. I don't agree with George in that Ipswich won't drop points. Could be completely wrong, but I think they will. They're still not in great form themselves. I think they've got tough games, certainly the next 2. So I do think they'll drop points, but I think they're certainly. I think the perspective shift is totally different to what it was if we'd have won last night.
Yeah. Do you think 49ers will give Farke another season?
Yeah, I think so.
I think so. They're going to play by the odds out, then they'll still look at it as, look, this is still the guy probably most likely to get us promoted in the long run.
Yeah, I think you take the emotion out of it, guys. And, last night was bad, but the season as a whole has been it's been pretty terrific. I mean, I keep reminding people of this, but in the season that we got promoted under Bielsa, West Brom finished second on 83 points.
Yeah.
We've already got 7 more than that with another to play, and we're not even confirmed. Like, it's a freak what's happened with the top 3, well, top 4 even. Southampton. Southampton would have been promoted without playing another game in that season, and they're 6 behind us or something. So, no, I think it's hard in the moment to deal with it without, too much emotion. I get it. I'm there with you as well, but I think the right call would be Daniel Farke for next season. You give him 10, 15 games and expect to see us in the top 2. He'd had no hiding room next season. There's no hiding place. So.
No, absolutely not. I want to thank everyone anyway for getting involved in the comments. If you're watching this video again later, do also get your comments added on as well. We always love reading through them. If you're not
just before you do finish with the parting, because there's a comment there that I just don't agree with. Tim's put next season is going to be so much harder in the Championship. Completely disagree. I don't think you'll ever see a Championship top 4 like this ever again. The abilities that's involved between Leicester and Leeds. And then it's because imagine Ipswich, Ipswich fans will be saying, God, we're recently promoted League One team. Any other season would be cruising to another league title. Yeah, and they'll be like, but unbelievably, we've got Leicester and Leeds to fight with, probably the strongest relegated sides you've ever seen. So, no, I don't agree with that at all, because you're going to have Forest come down, who are absolutely screwed, or Luton, who will go back into, I think, flirting with playoffs mid-table obscurity.
Yeah,
Burnley and Sheffield United, I think they won't be anywhere near. And Burnley, I think, will probably be in the top 6. They'll probably fight for the automatic promotions. So no, I don't think next season will be anywhere near what this season's been. Nowhere near.
No, I agree. So yeah, if you're not liked the video already, please do smash a like on the video. Subscribe to the channel as well. Myself and Jason, we will be back. We've got our Monday review show happening as well, and potentially playoff streams. Yay, can't wait for that one. But yeah, I've been Stephen Brown. With me has been Jason Booker. Jason, well, thank you for coming on, mate, and
thank you.
Putting a brave face on it anyway. We've tried, haven't we? We've shown.
I'm tired. Now.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I know. Let's go for a lie down or something. But yeah, thank you very much for watching, and we'll catch you again in the future. Bye bye.